Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. Let's talk about the 1995 remake, Village of the Damned. In my quest to get almost all the John Carpenter movies in 4K, I found this on sale and picked it up. Never been one of my favorites, still not one of my favorites, but there's some things to watch here, and it's not a bad movie to watch from beginning to end. The 98-minute film had a $22 million budget and bombed with $9 million domestic. The coolest thing about watching the movie, and it kind of blew me away at the beginning, Christopher Reeve and Kirstie Alley star in this movie. And this was Christopher Reeve's last movie before he got paralyzed later the same year. Linda Kozlowski is also in it. You remember her from the Crocodile Dundee movies. Michael Pare and a young Thomas Dekker, before he was in Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, plays one of the young children. Village of the Damned is a remake of the 1960s movie, actually 1960, also based on the book The Midwich Cuckoos, which I've never read. The original movie was creepy in its own way, and John Carpenter did elevate it a little bit with some of the things he did with it. The eyes, the look of the kids, the fact that they don't seem to have their own personalities. They're kind of a hive mind kind of thing. Universal Pictures released this. Some of the usual producers worked on it. It's a John Carpenter film, feels like one, but it also feels like kind of like a generic John Carpenter movie. I think with the good of the story and whatever happens, well, if you don't know what happens, people black out, and 9-10 months later, everybody has children. The kids that are born, including one that was supposed to be born to a virgin but died stillborn, there's 5 boys and 5 girls, minus the one who is stillborn. And they look different than everybody else, and then they begin to act different than everybody else, but nobody raises a red flag in the beginning, and then by the time everybody's afraid of them, it's very much almost a Stephen King kind of story. It has its twists and turns, and in the end, it has a pretty good horror movie ending. Just all in all, it's just okay. I like this better than, say, Ghosts of Mars, which I don't think turned out very well for him either. But in the John Carpenter pantheon of movies, this was pretty low on the list. Again, why I was more interested in picking up a copy and watching it is because, well, I hadn't seen it in years. It's 30 years old now. And Christopher Reeve starring in it. He's great in the film. Kirstie Alley is also pretty good. Everybody else is fair to partly cloudy in the film, but overall, I didn't think it was a horrible movie. It sits at about 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought some of the horror movie aspects of it, the kills and things, were pretty good. Like I said, the twists and stuff were pretty good, and it has a decent ending. It just, there are many John Carpenter movies I would recommend over this one. But if you've seen all the others and you haven't seen this one yet, well, it's not the very bottom of his list of movies, but it's not one of my favorites. The 4K from Shout Factory looks incredible. It's a 35 millimeter film that's been remastered in 4K from the original film Elements. They did not give it an Atmos soundtrack, but it does have a nice lossless DTS soundtrack. All in all, it's a nice package, and there's a lot of extras on the Blu-ray. Commentaries and stuff on the 4K, but the Blu-ray that comes with has a lot of extras behind the scenes with the writer. David Himmelstein wrote it. Not much with John Carpenter, but pretty much all the other aspects of making the film are covered on the extras on the Blu-ray. As a Shout Factory special edition goes, it's got a nice slipcover. The movie was relatively cheap on sale. If it's one of your favorites or you're trying to collect all the John Carpenter movies like I am, then it's worth picking up. But again, if you have some money and you don't own any John Carpenter in 4K, I would say movies like They Live and Prince of Darkness and, of course, Halloween and even Escape from New York would be higher on the list. Escape from LA, not so much, but we'll talk about that when I get a copy of that sometime. You can pick a copy of that on 4K for about $10 these days. So anyway, Village of the Damned, I think it's better as kind of a time capsule of the time. It took place in the mid-90s, but it was kind of out of time in the village that they filmed it in. And seeing Christopher Reeve just young and full of life and acting very well in this movie. Side note, Mark Hamill is in this movie and plays a priest. I think he's a little miscast there, although he does fine with the role. And some of the other townspeople are people you've seen from other shows and movies. It's definitely a John Carpenter production, just one of the minor ones. Village of the Damned from 1995 is available on Shout Factory 4K and Blu-ray. No steelbook as of yet, but you never know with Shout Factory. Sometimes later down the road, they will release a steelbook of it. A lot of podcasts and reviews are on the way, and some new drone videos too. So thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and listening, and have a spectacular day.